Hey everybody, this is Dr. Elle, aka the Metal and you're watching Gym Rock Crew.
Dr. L, welcome to Gym Rock Crew.
Hello, hello. How are we today?
You're all great. We're doing great. It is like 4 p.m. here. It's 11 a.m. for you. So, yeah.
Nice and
I'm,
early.
yeah, well, I'm getting to the gym after this, so I'm excited.
Oh, that's always good. Make sure you get your pre-workout or your caffeine in prior to.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so I'm not sure how I found you. I think it was Chris Daughtry.
Yep, I would say so. He's a great guy, many connections. Absolutely love him.
Yeah, he's awesome. And we had such a great chat. Like on the interview, he was really cool. Lots of fitness stuff, and I think we could just go on and on about fitness. So it was really nice, very refreshing conversation. Okay, so I am super excited for this chat. Like really excited. We've had several coaches for rock and metal musicians, like in different capacities, but you're the first Chiro, so I'm really excited, really stoked. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So let's start with your story. Okay, who is Dr. L? Just tell us a little about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. My story is not your typical story, guys. I did not go, oh my God, my life dream is to be a chiropractor. That was like not even in the cards for me. I come from an art school background. I've always wanted to pursue being a ballet dancer. I started a little bit late in the game, found out about ballet when they actually came to my elementary school. And the middle school of the arts was like, hey, we have this awesome program. We offer these different majors. There was, vocal, which is singing, music, which is the instruments, dance, visual arts, which actually breaks into two components. They've got people who draw, and then also like the photography end of things, communication. So those are going to be your broadcasting people, your advertisers. And just an array of like really talented people at really young ages all in one area. So I was like, how neat is this? I have to try this. I go to my mom, and at the time, I think I'm like 10 years old. And she's like, Elle, people start dancing when they're like 3. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. So let's do it. So I audition. Obviously, I don't get in the first year. Very, very competitive. I've never danced in my life. But that kind of drove me. And it was kind of the catalyst that brought me to where I needed to be at the right time, right place to end up in chiropractic. So I ended up getting like special permission from my middle school at the time to leave early on select days so I could go train. So I think it was like Mondays and Wednesdays or something like that. I'd leave early, go train, and then on the days that I didn't leave early, I actually danced at another studio. And my mom has a past in ballet, so she became my teacher later down the line, which was kind of weird but cool. And so, yeah, that was great. I was dancing at 2 studios. I trained intensively for a year, auditioned the very next year, and then ended up going to the middle school for 2 years. So it's 6th through 8th. I ended up there for 7th and 8th. And then, of course, after that comes high school. And for us, high school in Florida, at least, is grades 9 through 12. So I was like, I'm doing this. I have to. I love ballet. It's my life. So I do it, get in, and I just take it to the top. My goal at this point is audition for companies, colleges, just kind of throw everything out there and see where life takes me. And I think it was 11th grade going into 12th. I ended up getting in a really bad car accident. I was actually a passenger. I brought my friend these like little mini muffins, and I bent down when we were at this red light to get one for her because I'm like, you gotta eat this on the way to school. It's so good. You're gonna be in love with them. And this car is paying attention to the wrong light. Boom, rear ends us. My neck goes into the dash. So of course we're young kids. We don't know what to do. This has never happened. We call our parents. They come to the scene, and they're like, you got to get an attorney. Like that's the next step to this. They'll help you, all that good stuff. So you get attorneys, and the first thing they say is, have you been a chiropractor or PT? And I'm like, I have no clue what any of those are. No. I'm young. I'm healthy at this point. Why would I need those? So they recommended a group to me, and the group actually did both chiropractic and PT. And I ended up going there, and of course, I'm young at the time. My injuries were severe enough to where I had bulges and herniations. Bulges, the disc sticks out a little bit, can still cause pain and discomfort. Herniations, I always tell my patients, bulge sticks out a lot of it. So this might be compressing on nerves a little bit more intensely, causing extra pain. Some people completely asymptomatic. They don't feel anything, they don't have issues, but those are the very, very far and few between. Most people, you get that disc out just a little bit and they feel it. So anywho, I end up going to physical therapy and chiropractic. I'm doing it pretty intensely. And it gets to the point where they're like, listen, you're young and you're healthy. You can go one of two ways. If the pain's really extreme, you can think about injections, but you don't need to do any kind of surgery. You really just need to like put your time in and get serious with your health. And I was like, I'm already healthy. What do you mean? Like, I do ballet. And at the time, I don't know if maybe it was a lack of education across the board or what it was, but we didn't really think about training while still doing ballet. You know, ballet itself is crazy. It's very demanding. You're training numerous hours a day. Your body needs to rest at some point. But we weren't really integrating a lot of physical therapy or chiropractic, like sports chiropractic, at the time into it. So you got what you got from dance, and that was kind of it. So I ended up just doing PT and chiro for a hot minute, and it actually got me feeling really, really well, to the point where they're like, okay, now we want to start incorporating exercises, and we're going to make those exercises harder. And then I started to kind of develop this love for the gym a little bit, and I'm like, oh, so when you take care of your body, these are, you know, the benefits of them. So I kind of fell in love with the idea. Of course, I'm young at this point. I must have been like 17 or 18. And in young kid logic, at least for me, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm healed up. Goodbye. No PT, no chiro. And I actually left it behind for a couple years. But I did stick with the gym. So that was one positive. I got the gym out of it. But of course, you know, time to audition for companies and schools came. And my class was very competitive, both academically and artistically. So I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm an all or nothing. I'm very type A, very perfectionist. And that can be mentally taxing because I didn't realize retrospectively how good I had become and the potential I had because I just was always picking myself apart at the time. So I didn't end up auditioning for any companies. I didn't end up, looking into schools. I was actually in a soft neck brace. So I was like, who's going to say, I want this ballet dancer who can't turn right now, who doesn't really want to jump and is wearing this neck brace. So that kind of got ruled out. And this was at like the peak of my career. So what do you do when like dance becomes your life? It's your identity. You don't have that backup. So my mom suggested that I look into maybe doing paralegal studies. Where the heck does paralegal studies fit into this, right? My mom is a very smart cookie. She's always kind of dove into like philosophy and law, and she loves it. If you're educating her, she's game for it. And so she actually was a paralegal many, many moons before she became an attorney. And she suggested to me that I read and write pretty well, so it would be a relatively simple degree for me. I'm not a mathematician by any means. So anything not math-based is the way to go here. And she was like, it's a simple career. It's 2 years. If you do great and you want to advance it, you can take it all the way to the top and become an attorney, or you could become a very well-established paralegal if attorney's not kind of what you're looking for. And if you don't like it, she's like, it's 2 years. At the time, I'm thinking my life is over. So I enroll in paralegal. And I'm like, you know what? This is boring. I don't want to do this. My mom told me to be here, and that's why I'm here. And I think there was actually a day they went through the class, asked everybody about it, and I was like, listen, my mom told me to enroll. I really don't know what to tell you guys. So I ended up looking kind of into sciences. I was an art school kid, but I do have a younger brother who is a science kid from the get-go. He went to Roosevelt Middle School, which in Florida is kind of like a magnet school for science and math. Then he followed that by going to Suncoast, and he was doing biology pretty much so the whole time. Followed by FAU, Florida Atlantic University, where he minored in pre-med with biology, then actually got a master's in biology, and then went to med school. So my brother was always the science behind the household, and I was always like dance. And then we have a little sister who's kind of a mix between everything. Yeah, she gets the fun role. She gets to be everyone's favorite, you know.
Yeah.
Something about being the baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. So I ended up switching into a science-driven career. I looked at the different lists of things that I could switch to, and a lot of them required prerequisites like nursing and PA programs and different things like that. And so I saw biomedical science, and I was like, this is kind of nifty. I have the prereqs. Let me just hop into this. And it was an associate's degree, so it wasn't anything crazy. I'm not talking like PhD level type stuff. So I hop into it. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm taking anatomy and physiology, physics classes. I'm loving it. And then they tell me, yeah, you need organic chemistry 1, 2, 3. They tell me I need to take calculus 1, 2, and 3. And see where I'm going here? Me, math, not a good mix. So I'm like, oh no, I gotta go right back to paralegal studies. So I hop back into paralegal, and I end up getting jobs before I even finish school. And I'm working in different areas of law, and I end up in personal injury. And personal injuries, car accidents, slip and falls, workers' compensation, all those things fall under the personal injury umbrella. And of course, who works with personal injury attorneys? Well, doctors. You're working with chiropractors, PTs, pain management, orthopedists, all kinds of doctors. You name it, they're there. In really extreme case, even like psychologists. It gets really, really fun when you're working with the different types of doctors. So I did that for a few years, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this law thing to the top. I'm doing well in my career. I'm talking with the doctors. The medicine part of it is really fun for me. Let's just go to the top. But remember, I left paralegal school before I finished my degree because I started getting jobs early. So I said, oh no, I got to go finish. So I finished paralegal degree. Then I go, okay, now I need a bachelor's. Can't apply to law school without a bachelor's. And background with my family, my mom's side at least, is from PA. And so I grew up listening to sports from PA. I'm a huge Steelers and Penguins and Pirates fan. Sorry, guys. And it was really weird being a Miami kid with, PA background. But anywho, I was always kind of drawn to PA. We would go in and out of Pittsburgh. Our family grew up in like Newcastle area, which is like an hour outside of Pittsburgh. So we were constantly in and out. And I was like, you know what? Let's start anew. I had just ended a not great relationship. I was in my, I don't know, I think I must have been like 24, 25 at the time. And I'm like, clock's ticking. Let's get out of my bubble and let's try something. So I go to Penn State. I am there for a singular year. I'm pursuing my bachelor's in criminal justice, and I meet my now husband. We were about 6 months into dating. He gets into chiropractic school, and he's like, hey, I got into chiropractic school. I'm so excited. And he'd applied to a couple places. So I'm like, great, where? And he goes, Florida, West Palm, actually. And I'm like, oh, my God. I just escaped Florida. I've only been here 6 months. But nonetheless, he asks me to move back with him. And I'm like, you know what? If it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, my family's there. So at least I have this safety net. So I agree. I go back with him. He gets into chiro school. He starts doing it. And I'm hearing everything. I'm seeing how he's studying. I'm learning about all this stuff. He comes home. And, of course, he wants to practice the orthopedic and chiropractic things on me. And I'm like, I don't know, buddy, but okay. And eventually I get to the point where I take the LSAT, which is the law school entrance exam, apply to law school, and I go, you know what? I had this aha moment, and I'm like, I want to do medicine. I don't want to do law. And my mom goes, what? And I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm actually going to apply to chiropractic school. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? Do you even have credits for that? Like, you've been criminal justice, all about law and legal stuff this whole time, and now you want to go science? Like, that's a little the other way. And so I tell her, I'm like, well, once upon a time, when I was a paralegal, I dropped out and took biomed science classes, unbeknownst to you, Mom, and I do have some credits, so I'm going to apply and run with it. And I happen to have a really great GPA, so even though I didn't have as vast of a science background as a lot of people, I think my cumulative was like a 3.7 or something like that. They were like, you know what? You show like a great track record. You meet the requirement. Let's do it. We're going to put you on an academic probation for your first semester. And if you don't cut it, you're out. And if you do well, okay, best of luck. You still got to make it through 9 other semesters. We did 10 semesters back to back to back, plus board exams, plus all your examinations throughout school. So it was a lot. And as I like to say, here I am, Dr. Elle, right? So it worked out.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how I ended up becoming a chiropractor. And then the metal chiro origin is like a whole another story within chiropractic school, which, if you want to know about that, we can talk metal chiro too.
Yeah, that was actually my next question, but before we get into that, I just wanted to say I can relate on so many levels. Like, I freaking hated math. I hated it. I could never do it.
Easy.
Yeah, and I also chose science, so biology was like my favorite, and that's what I kind of had a bachelor's degree with
I
as
love
well.
that.
Yeah, awesome. So just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah,
That is so
biology
cool.
is awesome.
Yeah, I really love how you kind of took a step forward and then a step back and all that. But I always think that when you're starting from scratch, you're actually not starting from scratch, but you're starting from with experience, right? So
Right.
everything that you did all, up until that point actually gave you the fuel to keep going ahead, and you just know more now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it helped me a lot too, because when I came into chiropractic school, if you kind of go straight through the schooling system, you finish high school, you go right into your associates, then you get your bachelor's. You don't need a master's to apply for a doctorate program. The master's is an optional step, which is normally like 2 years or so. So for a lot of people, they were still in their like early 20s, and here I come like at the tail end of my 20s. But I think having a little bit more life experience behind me ended up making me a better student in a way, because when I was younger, I was so much more reckless. I, didn't always get the sleep I needed. I didn't study as efficiently as I could have. And I was lucky that my paralegal studies came so simple to me. I was lucky that when I did the science portion of things, my brother had already been in that territory and could give me little markers and breakdowns. And, when I started college, it was like 2011, 2012-ish. I don't know, I'm dating myself here, but there wasn't all of the technology we have today, the iPads and, the study apps and things like that. They projected the PowerPoints on the board, and if you were cool and you had a chunky laptop, you downloaded them and you read them, but you still were writing on paper. You didn't have as much accessibility. And I feel like as an adult in like a doctorate program, you have more respect for the time and the money and everything that goes into it. And then you add the technological advancements from where you were writing on pen and paper to iPads and everything, and you're just so grateful.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's great.
Yeah. So, you combine metal with anything and it's a winner, right? It's gold. So
Oh my gosh,
how did
absolutely.
how did that come around? How did the metal Cairo come around?
Yeah, so I was actually in chiropractic school, and this is within my first year, and you're still getting your feet wet. You're taking a lot of your basic science in, clinical classes where they're teaching you about what is chiropractic, how is it applied, and then it's just science, 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 science. So you don't have a lot of room for, freedom. So in between, they like to ask us, like, what type of chiropractic are you going to get into? How are you going to do this? Where do you see yourself? And what do you see yourself doing to change chiropractic medicine overall? Some people were like, look, I'm just happy to go work in an office and be an associate. A lot of people gave the standard answers. I know I did. My initial answer when one of our professors asked us, hey, what are you guys going to do to change chiropractic, was, I'm going to go in personal injury. That's where the money is. I'm used to that. I've done the legal side of it. I enjoy the collaboration with the other doctors. For me, personal injury, no brainer, right? And for other people, they were like, I want to do sports chiropractic. The NFL works with a lot of chiropractors, and more sports teams are taking on chiropractors as part of their medical team, which is awesome because we can come in and, do things that maybe depending on like statewide or even countrywide, scopes change and scopes allow us to do or not do things. So sometimes maybe you needed that chiropractor to do the adjustment, or maybe the state allows your physical therapist to do it and you don't need the chiro. So it's really, really dependent. But anywho, I said personal injury. Everybody gave, relatively similar answers. And the teacher goes, no, try again. He's like, I challenge you to come back and give me a better answer. Think about it. And I'm like, what? That was a great answer. Nobody said personal injury, just me. And I'm sitting there, and I've got my headphones in. It's a study sesh time, and I'm just writing, and I'm thinking, and I'm listening to metal, of course. And it just kind of comes to me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to work on bands. And other people that are associated with them, crews, tattooers, and all of a sudden I just start brain dumping, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to scribble this out before like it just goes away and I never remember this. And for like the next week, I was fixated on it. I even came up with my name. I was like, how can I come up with something that's like chiropractic meets metal? And I had all these different name variations. And then I just wrote it out, and I was like, the metal chiro. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is insane. I'm listening to metal. I get inspired by this thing, and I come up with this brand. And how easy is it that you take something like the metal chiro and, abbreviate it, TMC. You've got this cute little flowy thing. Some people call me metal chiro. It's got like its own variation in it. So I go back the next week, and the teacher's like, all right, guys, let's hear it. Did anything change? And I'm so excited, but I didn't tell anybody it. I didn't even tell my husband at the time. I was like just so fixated on it, I didn't say it aloud. And then I stood in front of my class and said it aloud. And first thought in my mind was, oh my God, you are insane. And my teacher looks at me and goes, that's great, Elle, but how are you going to do that? And I said, I have no clue, but I'm going to do it. And that was literally my answer. And so I go through chiropractic school. I'm just sitting on the idea. I love music. My parents were metalheads. They used to drop me off in the elementary school line, blasting like Sepultura, and even like they would change up with like 9 Inch Nails sometimes, maybe Slayer, maybe Pantera, Megadeth for sure. And so I was always really embarrassed at the time. But as I got older, I was like, this metal stuff it's kind of cool. I like this. And it's got all these subgenres. And there's like new metal, thrash metal, So I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I just kind of sat on the idea while I finished up chiro school, because this came to me year 1. You've got 3 1/3 years. So almost you're looking at like close to like 3.5 years of schooling. I have no license. Why would I, start trying to market it when I couldn't do anything? I couldn't call myself a chiropractor. You could do simple things like you could tape people if you have certifications for it. You can do muscle work. You just can't call it a certain technique unless you're certified. So there were things I could have maybe done, but the vibe was chiropractic, and you can't do it without being a chiro. So I had to sit on it for a couple years, and I just really digested it. And I kept watching all these artists come. My favorite artists play big festivals. And the one thing I noticed was I wasn't really hearing anything about like chiropractic in the industry. And maybe it was a quiet thing. People didn't want to talk about it, or maybe they just weren't educated about it. I wasn't sure. So I made sure that when I started, I came in hot. And that's kind of like the origin of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, what bands or artists have you worked, I should say, on, if you're free to disclose that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a pretty decent list, so I'm sorry in advance if I forget anybody, but like we've worked with Megadeth, we've worked with Sum 41, Hawthorne Heights, Escape the Fate, Black Veil Brides, All That Remains, Yellow Card, Third Eye Blind. Do you want me to keep going?
I'm loving it.
Yeah, we have a pretty extensive list, and it gets longer and longer, and I love every second of it because it's cool. Because once you start working with people, they might be a touring drummer, for instance, in a band, and you might work with them because, they're in with X band, and then they might tour with a whole nother band. I've seen some really awesome things happen for friends over a period of time. I've seen people go from playing drums in a band to drum teching for, a band that's massive. And just to see that kind of growth is really neat because it's inspiring, A, and B, music and the industry is all about your connections and your reputations. Who do you know that knows XYZ, and how are you perceived? Are you that cocky chiropractor that, talks a big game and doesn't deliver? Or are you that humble chiro who needs to put themselves out there? Like, who are you to them? And why pick you? Because there's other chiros in, other states and stuff that maybe, might be a little more accessible, or I don't know, might be able to travel. There's all kinds of different variables. One thing you'll learn about the industry and touring is nothing is ever the same. Even on the same tour from day to day, it's always so different.
Yeah, I want to get into that like a little bit later, but let's start off with a little bit about strength training. Okay, so I saw you doing, there was a video of you doing hip thrusts, and
Yes.
they're one of my favorite exercises ever for glutes. Do you think that glute training is just for aesthetics, or do you think that the benefits extend beyond that, particularly for artists?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think initially a lot of people get into it for the aesthetic component, but I'm going to say it's going to be for the wellness overall. When you're younger, you don't realize how much the body relies on strong, stable muscles to keep your posture upright. I'm sure we've all seen the cute little old lady or little old man who's like bent like a shrimp with their cane. That's postural issues over time, muscle weakness, sedentary lifestyle, all those kinds of things. So I think that not even just that exercise in general, but just moving. Like walking is so underrated. It is a phenomenal exercise, especially if you're rehabbing something, if you're resting. You can fit it in all different types of like variations and intensities. And I think that's something a lot of people don't think about either. They just think it's all or nothing. That's not life. Life is so different. It's consistency and it's dedication. I hate the words motivation because it's easy to do something when you're motivated, but in the long run, we're not always motivated.
Yeah.
So I think the consistency over, a prolonged period of time that's where the money is, and the health benefits of it outweigh, short bursts of super motivated, stunts, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yes, train. It does not have to be lifting twice your body weight. Training can be walking on the treadmill and doing body weight squats. Okay, those body weight squats are easy for you. Add a band. Oh, that's easy for you. Give me some dumbbells. Give me barbells. Give me plates. Play with it.
Love that. And it was so interesting when you said that you started off with ballet and then you added, when you started with strength training, you realized, oh my God, there's like a whole world of benefits there. And then there's that
Right.
overlap. And then you bring that together. And now you've got different aspects of your fitness that are improving. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. It's huge too because, in ballet, flexibility is a big thing. And a lot of people, confuse flexibility for mobility, right? And the thing is, you could be mobile and very strong, but you can also be very flexible and very weak. And that's where I came in. I was very, very flexible, but I lacked the strength. And I realized in my training that may have been why I had a hard time holding a certain position or doing more repetitions, was because I lacked that strength because I didn't know to do that. For us, we were always taught, you want that long, slender look. You don't want to be jacked. You need to fit in this tutu. There were times actually where we did Swan Lake and I was putting a tutu and my teacher's like trying to shove the back part to clip together and it's not clipping. I have by default always had wide hips. Women anatomically have wider hips than men in general. but I come from like an Italian descent, so we've got that really nice little wide thing going on, which at the time I didn't appreciate because they were like, "We're looking for this stick," and my teacher was like, "Dude, you're gonna need to lose weight. You're a little bit big," and at the time I cried and I was like, "How can I eat less and move more?" And that's where my mind went, and it put me in a really dark place. But retrospectively, it was my hip width. She's trying to put something on my hips that isn't going to fit. My hips are a size 5 or 7 in jeans. My waist is still a 0-1. Big difference. Maybe put the tutu higher. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I bet you have trouble with jeans, right?
Oh my gosh, they're
Yeah.
stretchy or nothing. I
Yeah.
like the I like the baggy
Jeggings.
boyfriend ones that are like high waisted. But my
Yeah.
husband's like, no, why do you wear those? It hides your body. I'm like, exactly. I can have that extra carb or that beer, and you're not gonna see it.
Yeah. High waisted like jeggings, I call them. They're just like the best invention
Yes,
ever. Like best thing ever.
that's it. High waisted jeggings are nothing.
Yeah. All right. So, walk us through a day in your life when you're on site with a band. Like, what does a typical backstage clinic look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all depends on where we're going, what we're doing. So typically, I'm like a very anxious, I need everything done way ahead of time. So I like to prep the day before. Prepping can include getting like I call it my to go bag situated. And what goes in there is going to be dependent on, is my husband, Dr. Chris, also coming with me? Am I going solo? So, for instance, I was just out with the Daughtry See Their Tour Friday, and it was just me, solo dolo. I drove by myself, so I brought my portable chiropractic table, and then I also brought my to go bag. In my to go bag, it includes things like cups, a massage gun, I don't know, gloves, wipes to clean up the table, and the cups and things like that. Lotions. I always offer an array of choices because we get different mix of people who need different things. So I try to be kind of all encompassing. Sometimes we bring paper if we are working a really big tour. Like for instance, we worked Summer of Loud tour. With like Parkway Drive, Devil Wears Prada, Dark Divine, big tour at Jones Beach, and we knew that we were going to have people coming in and out. So to keep it efficient, both of us went. So now we have 2 tables. We knew we were going to be in a big room where we had plugs and electricity. So when we know we have a setup like that, we'll bring like our electrical stimulation machine, which is really cool. It's basically TENS unit if you've ever used that, plus an array of different types of wavelengths. If we're not sure, we don't bring that because no plug, no power, right? Uh, but yeah, sometimes if we're working a big show, we'll print out, we do like intake forms so we can find out who we're working on, what's going on with them. Do they have anything we need to be paying attention to? I always tell everybody my job is to help you, not hurt you. So I just need to know. Obviously, anytime we work on them, it's HIPAA compliant. So it's not like if someone discloses, they have diabetes or a heart condition or whatever it is, they take Adderall. That's just for me to know that, okay, your vitals, maybe if you take Adderall, you might sweat a little bit. You might have a quicker heart rate. You're not having abnormal rhythms, you just take Adderall. So it's always interesting to see, kind of what the person's going through and put that to the name and the face, and then what conditions we're going to work on with them. What else do we bring? I mean, that's really it. We try to keep it simple. I tell everybody my best assets are these guys. These are the guys that could stretch you, do muscle work on you, do your adjustments. The other things are just aids, really. Some people might come in and they don't want to get beat up. They don't want me digging in there and adjusting them. They just want me to like dim the lights and throw some cups on them, and that's fine. Other people are like, get in there, make me hurt. I'm like, okay.
Manhandle me. I think I saw a reel you posted.
Yes. I put a post up and I said, why do you go to the gym? I'll start first. And I said, to manhandle your favorite bands is why I do it.
Love it.
And I actually got a couple DMs, and it was from some of my more huskier dudes, and they were like, that is so true. And everyone says that, when they first see me, I'm 5'4", I'm like 120 pounds, and they're like, you're going to move me. And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So do artists only come to you when they're in pain, or do some have like some kind of a regular maintenance routine?
Yeah, it depends. It's always a person by person thing. A lot of them, I feel like, especially as they get like more middle aged to older, really start to feel those symptoms that we were kind of talking about, even with the gym, right? When you're younger, you're healthy, you're happy, you're like, I like to say, moving and grooving, right? As you get older, though, you start to feel things a little bit more. Body can slow down sometimes. We don't see healing turnover as quick. And then what does their schedule look like? Did they just play a fest and then now they're playing back-to-back shows? Because that's really intense on their bodies too. Majority of them have some sort of regimen, whether that is they have their massage gun on the tour with them or they see somebody regularly. A lot more of them are becoming health conscientious, which I love. And I think in part that's because of those technological advancements we kind of talked about earlier. Not only are they helpful in schooling, but just in general information. A lot of people now are on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, and those social media platforms have access to, oh, here's a good stretch, here's what you should be eating. And sometimes there's obviously misinformation that gets spread, but for the most part, there's an awareness. And it's becoming more prevalent in the scene. So it's nice because I get to pick up with these people and be like, what was the last thing you did? Who did you see? What do you like? What don't you like? And we work together. And then, there are still some who have been like, I've never been to a chiro. I don't do anything. I know I need to help.
Yeah.
And I am always really excited to work with those people because I get a chance to show them how cool chiropractic is. And then we also get to talk on the other end of things. We have in chiropractic what's called straight and mixed chiropractic. Straight chiropractors just adjust. They believe that it is the core root of everything. They're more like philosophical based. They're typically your like older school kind of chiros. And then you have your mixed chiros. Mixed chiros are going to do therapies and modalities. They're going to do, exercises. They're a mix of everything.
Hybrid. Okay.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I fall into being very athletic, young. I've always kind of leaned more towards the sports end of chiropractic and the rehabilitation end, but I still like adjusting people. Sometimes when, you start getting into sports or rehabilitation, we forget the adjusting component. And it's not for everybody. Everybody's not a candidate. It's not a fix for everybody. But for a lot of people, especially people giving themselves whiplash on stage or drumming super hard or whatever it is they're doing, it helps.
Yeah.
So I like to kind of incorporate that into the other things I do. I don't think that just adjusting without the muscle work is beneficial for them, and I don't think just the muscle work without the adjustment is beneficial. Unless they're not a candidate, well then, yeah, just the muscle work will do.
Yeah. I think it is so important that you've actually had a background in strength training and then all of these other sports like things as well, because you can translate, you can bring that to artists who, in my opinion, are like athletes, right? They perform like athletes on stage and
Absolutely.
they're touring all the time, and then they have very busy schedules and they're just going crazy physically on stage. So yeah, I think that's great. Like whatever you're doing is just perfect for them.
Yeah, it's fun too, and it's nice because I have such a love for music that learning about the culture of it, learning about what they do, what the backstage experience kind of looks like has been really neat. I always knew there was like this hierarchy of like, okay, this person does this does this does that. But actually being immersed in it, I've got to learn like, what might a guitarist have issues with versus a drummer versus maybe one of their crew who's primarily doing load in and load outs versus their tour manager who's stressed. Maybe they have headaches and neck pain. It just really is dependent on how big is the tour, how frequently are they touring, and are people doing multi-jobs? You know, when you see some of these smaller tours, they wear multiple hats. You know, they might be tour managing and then mixing at the front of the house. I've seen guitar techs, and then they've gone and played for their own band. And I'm like, this is insane. How are you guys doing this? It gets a little easier when it's like a large scale production. Anytime we're in MSG, I love working that because I know it's going to be a big show. There's hands on deck all day, every day. I don't know if it makes it more or less stressful for the tour, but I would say at least in like the physical component, things get more like compartmentalized. You know, you have a job for each person and you kind of stay in your lane. So it makes it easier because I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's going on with this one. I know what's going on with this one. It's not, oh, this person's doing 10 jobs.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, I mean, towards the chaos, right? This complete chaos. How do you fit your treatments in around all that chaos of like load-ins and sound checks and shows?
Yeah, absolutely. A big part is just communication. I'm always in communication with the tour manager. They are the babysitters of the adults. What I do is I get in contact with them and we kind of go over everything. And this is where my knowledge and understanding of what their day looks like comes in. I'll normally ask them, you know, do they have a day sheet, which is a sheet with everything that's going on during the day and time blocks. And then we'll kind of discuss, you know, when their load-in time is. Are they sound checking? You know, who wants to go when? Sometimes artists are really particular. They don't want to be worked on before they play their set, or they might want to be worked on way in the morning so they can relax the rest of the day. So we talk about the artist needs as well as, you know, the venue constraints, load-in times, sound checks, things like that. And we make a sign-up sheet essentially. And if I'm really, really lucky, I walk in and the sign-up sheet is already printed, filled out, ready to go. If it's a bit chaotic, then we just work with it. You know, I'll normally have a blank sign-up sheet, and I ask them to send out, you know, like a message to the tour. Hey, Dr. L's in the house. Come on and sign up. And we work in time blocks. And so I tell everybody, hey, listen, if you have a specific time, you know you can get in, get your butt over here and sign up so I can bother you. And on that sign-up sheet, I do ask for their number. Obviously, if, you know, they're uncomfortable with it, then I don't take their phone number and I just cross my fingers they show up. But if, you know, they are comfortable, I like to stay in communication with them. So I'll say, hey, Dr. L here, your appointment's coming up in 10 minutes. Come on down whenever you're ready. And just a little follow-up because things get busy. People get tired. Half the time we don't know what the day is. So it's really just, in short, a combination between communication with the tour manager and even sometimes production manager, and then just the day-to-day, you know, the artist preference and things like that.
Love that. Preparation is key.
Yeah, oh gosh, absolutely.
Yeah. So what are the most common issues you see or you treat in musicians?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely lots of like muscle strains and sprains. You know, these guys are out here doing these repetitive movements day in and day out. And let's be real, if you went to see them and they just stood there and sang the song or just played the drums or the guitar, it would be boring, right? So, you know, they're headbanging, they're thrashing themselves around. So sometimes when you do that again and again and again, because you get a crazy tour schedule, muscles get angry. And so you start to see a lot of like soreness, tenderness, muscle strains, muscle sprains. We call them a lot of like overuse or repetitive injuries. You know, it depends on the person. Like in my guitarists and my guitar techs, they're obviously using like wrists and fingers a lot. So I see like inflammation happen down here and sometimes pain in the area. We call that De Quervain's tenosynovitis. Anytime you see itis at the end of something, know that that's swelling and inflammation. Biceps tendonitis. In my drummers a lot, banging those drums. Lots of tension up here for everybody, honestly. This is probably the most common thing I see is upper trap tension. You know, you've got your drummers kind of going forward like this, and they get tense in here, and then their shoulders tend to roll forward. So we work on a lot of like corrections opening up those pec muscles, bringing those shoulders back, relaxing the upper traps. Guitarists, it's all about keeping those forearms happy, making sure the flexors and the extensors are moving well. If we need to brace anything, we use like kinesiology tape to allow them to still move, but to have some support. If it gets bad enough, we start putting them on, icing protocols, and sometimes we've even had to put them in splints before. Sometimes you see their thumbs go too from just like holding the pick and whatnot. What else do we see? I don't know. We see a lot of stuff. I've had bands actually get in car accidents while on tour. So that's always a not so fun one because you don't know at that point, are they dealing with disc injuries? You tend to hear a lot about like sharp shooting pains. And normally when you hear that, you go, okay, that's a disc issue. So just trying to bring them relief. Really the biggest thing with all of them is just listening to their stuff because they do so much with their bodies. Sometimes they forget that they got hurt like 20 years ago and they have this issue and this issue caused this other issue and now it's amplified from touring. So, we see it all. And anywhere from, I sent a patient for an MRI while he was on tour. He was running and he tripped and the momentum kept going and he fell on his shoulder. And he had some acromioclavicular or AC joint separation. So the joint area actually separated, causing him immense pain. Yeah, he had some biceps, like partial tears. And this is a guitarist. So this is someone who's got the strap over him on the side that's injured and having to play still. And so that was fun. I had someone else break a finger. I had a knee dislocation. By the way, I was never there for any of them. I just had to fix them.
Oh my gosh, that's
So they came to me after. Yeah, we've seen full-on foot fractures. We had someone hang upside down during a show, fall off the beam, and just completely smash their foot. Yeah, the bands they're fun.
Yeah, I bet.
They keep me on my toes.
Yeah, gosh. Who usually needs the most fixing? Is it drummers, guitarists, vocalists,
Oh God.
crew?
Yeah. I want to say it's a mix between like my guitar and bass players and my drummers. My singers are like kind of a 50-50. I think in comparison to the drummers are just boom, 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 boom constantly. And they have to have that high energy, not only for the performative aspect of it, but also for the melodic part of it. If they're supposed to be going light on a snare, they need to be hitting that light. If they're supposed to be banging the shit out of that thing, they need to do that. So I want to say my drummers tend to get hurt the most and be injured the most. Hurt the most and have tightness and other issues from that the most. But it really is, again, patient dependent. Did they fall off of a beam hanging upside down? Did they run into the ground? And believe it or not, those were actually both bassists that did that. So not even my drummers, but my drummers will play until their hands are literally like bleeding and callous. And then they're like, I feel like I'm not playing how I should be because my hand hurts. I'm like, well, that's a start. Yes, correct. So I see a lot of that kind of stuff with the drummers. Singers, I see a lot of whiplash and like headaches. That tends to be like a huge thing for them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah.
What is one simple thing musicians could do today to feel better on stage or after a show?
Musicians, if you're listening, stretch, please. For the love of God. It doesn't have to be crazy stretches. I always scream at them about these simple stretches. I have, a couple in my back pocket that I'm like, I want you doing these. Like, this can be done, and I stress it 1,000 times. This can be done backstage before you walk on the stage. This can be done, on the tour bus. It's not like I'm asking you to do something where you need equipment or, this ample amount of space. It's simple stretches. One of the most simple ones I do with them is for their upper traps. And you literally say this is my right side and I want to stretch it. I take my right hand and I put it behind my back. So it should look like this. And what I ask them to do is to take their head and go the opposite way. So bring it over to the left. That opens up the upper trap. Now tell me, could you do that right now if I asked you to?
Simple.
Could you do that on the tour bus or, backstage? Absolutely. And it's those kinds of stretches I give them. My guitarists and bassists, stuff as simple as, okay, we're going to stretch our forearms. Boom. Nothing crazy. Some of them do stretch, but most of them do not. So stretch.
It is one of those things that are so often overlooked. Like, I ignored it for the longest time until I started getting older, and then I realized, holy shit, I need to stretch.
Yeah. It's crucial, for sure.
Yeah, totally. So I think we kind of went through pre-show warm-ups with that. Or is there anything that you'd recommend pre-show apart from what you said?
Yeah, pre-show wise, honestly, I think it's mostly about just being in a good headspace for them. So that good headspace could be taking a nap. It could be your stretches, whatever it is that puts them in that correct mindset to do their job and perform. The one thing I will say everybody can definitely do in addition to their stretching is hydration's huge, and I'm not talking about just water. I'm talking about like electrolyte hydration.
It's a big one.
We see a lot of like muscle cramping and stuff because maybe they're doing, summer fests. It's already hot outside, and then now you got to bring the energy for your whole set time, and you're just dripping sweat, and then you start to see people having all types of muscle cramps, dizziness, weakness, and you're like, dude, you need to keep up with those electrolytes. So I always suggest electrolytes, especially when it's really, really hot. That's a big one.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, what about, I think we've kind of covered recovery. Okay, you've probably seen it all. Okay, what is one bad habit every musician should stop doing immediately?
Oh gosh. Bad habit that they should stop doing. I can think of like 20, but I think the biggest thing that they should stop doing is probably prior to their showtime, stop stressing. I know it's way easier said than done, but give yourself that space in that moment to just kind of suck it in and go forth. A lot of people don't think about the secondary things that you experience from stress. Increased cortisol can make you fatigued. Obviously, when your cortisol's up, those happy hormones in your body are down. So you're not able to bring that fire, not able to be in that happy mental space. Also, when you're stressed out, it causes additional muscle tension, right? For me, I carry my stress up here. So I'm already tight up here, and then I get stressed out, and it's boulders. So whatever it is, if it's a breathing technique, that deep, cold plunge for, a minute and a half, if it's just silence, whatever it is, take a moment to breathe. I know obviously adrenaline is high. There could be things going on both personally, financially, maybe business-wise with the band. And so sometimes it's hard to find that space where they can just come in and relax and just let go of everything. So I would love to see them just kind of let it roll off a little bit, decrease that stress, get up in there and enjoy your time, enjoy the moment, because you never know. Does your band break up? Are you touring again this year? Or are you not seeing a tour for 2 years? Is this the biggest crowd you'll play, or will you play an even bigger crowd? I think it's all about experiencing, the different events that come with life and touring and stuff like that. And then also, from a biomechanical standpoint, stop texting with your heads like this.
That applies to everyone.
Yes, that's everybody. It's me too. I do this thing now where I'm on the train and I'm like this, and I catch myself and I go like this now. And I feel so weird and so stupid, but you have to just bring the phone up to eyesight. it's going to be better for your neck in the long run. When you look down like that, we call text neck. Eventually what can happen is we've got curves in all areas of our spines, in our neck, our mid back, and our low back. And over time, we can actually lose the curve. And when we lose the curve, we start seeing all kinds of issues, because that curve is meant to help protect the body, take on loads and forces. And our heads are not light. They're like little bowling balls. They're normally like 8 to 10 pounds. So if you lose that curve, you've got these little bones up here in your neck versus your thick bones in your low back. And the little bones are having a harder time taking on the weight and taking on the force, because they don't have that curve to kind of offset it, biomechanically speaking. So we lose the curve, and then we start seeing degenerative changes. The little discs or the jelly donuts in between each bone become flattened. When we start seeing that flattening, we start to see issues with, like nerve pain. Sometimes we see arthritic changes. When those discs flatten, the body goes, oh no, I gotta stabilize. And it gets these bony outgrowths called osteophyte formations. And those osteophytes actually can cause fusions between the segment above and below. And then you're really not getting any movement once it fuses. It's this terribly great thing our body does to help us stabilize, but it actually ends up hurting us because we lose our range of motion. And in an area like, your mid-back, we don't have that much range of motion there, but guess what? Our neck has a pretty decent amount, so we don't want to lose range of motion. So if you enjoy being able to turn your neck, if you enjoy no surgery on your neck, and if you enjoy having more relaxed, less tense muscles, hold your phone up.
That is great advice. I love that. I love that. Especially in this day and age, like we just constantly like that, right?
Right. I
Yeah.
see, like on MRI images and even X-rays too. But it's funny. The older generations that didn't have the phones the way we do actually have nicer curvatures in their neck than some of my teenagers. Because the teenagers, everything is looked down. It's, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, Facebook, you've got your iPhone, you've got your iPad. Even like in the little ones, we try to put on these educational things for them, like videos and stuff like that, but they're playing with the iPads and they're looking down. So it's really all about like that ergonomic setup. I yell at my patients all the time, we want things eye level. When you're sitting at the computer, eye level, when you've got, your typing situation, we don't want our wrists up like this, and we don't want them down like this. We want them to be relaxed, so we're sitting in a neutral place, because when we're not, we're here or we're here, and it just creates compensation that we don't need. Life is already tough enough.
Yeah, that is such great advice. I love that. Actually,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna spread that one on. Right?
Please do.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're done with all the major questions. I do have some fun questions for you. Do you have time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so which artist surprised you the most with how serious they were with their health and fitness?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Daughtry on that one. And he knows it too. We were talking the other day, and I was telling him the benefits of different types of approaches, like cupping and scraping, which some people know as interest-assisted soft tissue mobilization, or gua sha. Same concept, different kind of applications. But we were just talking about those types of things, and his knowledge about the lymphatic system and aesthetic versus functional, and everything was just, I was really stunned by it. I actually told him at one point, I'm like, I don't have anything to say. Like, you got it. Thank you for being healthy. Yell at the rest of your tour. I don't know.
Yeah, that was exactly the kind of impression I got when we spoke as well on the interview. He's got like a wealth of knowledge. Really cool.
Right. We even talked about, weightlifting and the benefits of like doing less repetitions and higher weights versus lower and more consistent. We talked about, maintaining a certain physique. For him right now, it's not about, being the biggest dude in the room. It's not about pulling the heaviest. It's about, he looks good, he feels good, he wants to maintain that. So he's doing exercises and repetitions that are appropriate to maintain that physique. And I think that's so cool that he's driven into not only like the training aspect of it, but also the care aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. He
Everybody
actually.
doesn't think about the post-training part. What are you eating? How are you recovering? We just think about, okay, train, take a break, train, take a break. Okay, but take a break has more components to it.
Yeah.
I want to get him into like Pilates or yoga. I think we're going in that direction, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. I think he did mention that his favorite actor is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he could do the split when he was younger. So
Yes.
he might just get into that.
Listen, I told him, I was like, I think you'd be great. You can go in there with like all the moms and the grandmas. They'll love you.
Yeah, yeah. It's surprising because every time I share one of his videos, I get a lot of like older women checking out his interview and asking for it. So I'm like, this
Oh,
he's
I
got
love
that niche. Yeah, very interesting. So,
that.
what dream band or musician would you love to work with next?
I love that you asked that because I just saw this today. My dream band is Bring Me the Horizon. I love them so very much. I have been listening to them since I was a really rebellious teenager. I have a couple Bring Me the Horizon tattoos. I've got the little umbrella that says "Come Rain on My Parade," and then I have like a sinking little skull hand. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I have some Bring Me the Horizon.
I'm
Got
sending
the
you all the
Seventh
vibes.
Eternal. What's that?
I'll send you all the vibes. Hopefully, the lucky
Yes,
vibes.
yes, positive vibes. They're actually coming to MSG, so I would love, love, love to do that. I would honestly, I'd love to even just hop on a tour with them. You know, they seem so very like down to earth, and their style has changed so much. And I know some people are like, this isn't screamo, this isn't Bring Me the Horizon, but I love it because it shows their versatility and
Yeah,
creativity. And I think that it's so cool that they not only did it, but they did it well. You
yeah.
know, I've seen people try to change genres before, and people are just not having it. And they did get some pushback, you know, on some of their earlier albums, but I mean, they're doing pretty great. They're selling out tours. They're playing major fests. I mean, I think they moved in the right direction for themselves, and probably in a direction too when you think about the health and like the long term implications for like Ollie. You know, how many people did we see who were back in that like screamo era when we were growing up that had to full on throat surgeries and it changed their career? You know,
Yeah,
so I would love to work with them.
love
Let
that.
me work with you.
All right. Okay. So finally, what is your biggest goal with the Metal Cairo project? Like, where do you see, where do you want to take this movement?
Oh man, I want to take it to the stars and the moon and back. I would love to get to the point where it's just so well known. You know, it's all over the place. You know, follower engagement, all that stuff, and not because I need 100,000 people liking something and telling me I'm great. That's not what it's about. It's about spreading the awareness. And I've noticed, especially in social media trends and stuff like that, when you see accounts with higher followings, people tend to like that stuff more and share that stuff more. And now that thing that they shared, maybe I wasn't following the Metal Cairo, but now I see this exercise that my friend shared from the Metal Cairo, and now I'm kind of involved, and I start looking at it, and I think it would be great not only just on the industry side of things, but for I call them like my local rock stars, for my everyday local rock stars. People are people, whether they're on the stage or they're watching, the stage. They all have muscles and the nerves and complaints. And I would like to just really spread awareness. I'd love to hop on, podcasts and talk about everything from what a typical day looks like to how I'm diagnosing things and my breakdown process to post care. And, I'd love to do different collaborations with health and wellness brands. A big thing for me that I really also work a lot with is mental health. It's huge in the touring industry, and I'd like to get to the point where I have enough of an audience or a following, and we can do things where I help connect them. We can raise monies for artists and stuff. Like, think about all the stuff that happened with those fires in California. A lot of people lost their homes, their instruments, all kinds of things happened. of course, that decline people's mental health. And, being in an industry where this is a prevalent thing, I don't want to see anybody else go. I want to keep everybody here with us. And, if I can spread awareness and that one stretch can make someone's day better, or that connection to that mental health facility can change somebody's life, let's go. I'll do it. I'll put all the stress on me to make it happen. And I'd love to eventually collaborate with other chiros. I could see myself doing something where I have a set of metal chiro approved docs, and I go to another state or something, and we work on what it looks like to be a metal chiro doc. And we all have the same type of, not flow, because all of us are different, but we have the same kind of treatment and presence and respect. People know if they go see me in New York and they go see, somebody else in St. Louis, it's going to be good. It's the metal chiro.
Yeah.
So that's really what it's about, just expanding all those frontiers of health, and bringing awareness to it, and getting everybody the help that they need, whether that's physical, mentally, emotional, whatever it is, we got you. And that's where I want to take this. I don't know how, but guess what? I'm also the same person in chiro school who said, I don't know how I'm going to be the metal chiro.
Right?
So.
Yeah. Love that.
This
It's
is
all
another
about impact.
stepping stone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I love that you represent such a positive space within the rock and metal industry. And it's hard to see that. But
Right.
it's drugs and alcohol, and that's basically what the industry is known for. But I love seeing this, and I love the impact that you're making. So keep going. I'm rooting for you. Okay. I'm totally
Thank
rooting. You're going to
you.
get there. 100%. I have
Right.
no doubt.
It's not if, it's when, right? That's what
Yeah,
I keep
exactly.
myself.
Love it. Love it. Dr. Elle, thank you so much. I learned a ton. This was super interesting. So, Jim Rockers, better go give the Metal Chiro a follow. All right.
Yeah.
Expand that audience, share the stuff. Okay. It's going to help
Absolutely.
everyone. Anything else you want to add? Did I miss anything?
No, I really, really appreciate you. Thanks for picking my brain. And, of course, down the line, if you guys ever have questions or you need anything, please let me know. I'm always happy to work collaboratively with you guys. For me, it's all about awareness. So if we can do that, let's do it.